Hello, welcome back to Boomer's Firearms. Today we're going to do a full disassembly of a M1 Garand, or Grand, however you want to say it. So I'm going to strip this down for servicing, replacing parts, cleaning, whatever you want to do, but it's just a full, complete disassembly. First we're checking, make sure the gun is safe to take apart, so there's nothing in the chamber. So first off, you want to remove the fire control group, which are usually pretty easy. You just got to pull back on this a little bit. It's kind of spring loaded in a way. To pull that little latch right here, open that up, and your whole fire control group will come apart or come out. It works best, obviously, if your bolt is locked back, and then your barreled action will come out just like so. And then there is your main stock part that you can put off to the side. Alright, next, to remove the front handguard, you have to remove your gas plug. So either it's a straight slot or X slotted, cross slotted. I just use a big flathead screwdriver, as long as they're not too carbon locked in there. They do make a tool for it, but I've never had an issue just using a big flathead screwdriver. So take that off. Alright, move your screw, your plug, and then your screw will unscrew here. Alright, put that off to the side, and then, oh sorry, it's in my eyeball. Alright, so as long as that's not too tight, you might need a little rubber mallet to remove your gas system here, with your front sight on it. Alright, then your front handguard will come right off, and then, alright, pull that off to the side, a little faster. Alright, next, to remove all your other operating features here. So there is, let's make sure I can get this on here. Alright, zoom in a little bit. So right here, there's a pin that you need to remove. I just use like a little punch and just push it out. There should be nothing that you really have to pound out. So actually here you might want to release the tension on there. So just move that up and let your bolt come forward so there's no tension. Here we go. Remove that pin. And then you remove your guide rod spring. Alright. And then your follower arm. Move that. Blanking on the names for every individual part here. And then that'll come right off. All this stuff will come pretty much out just as so. It's all held together in there by this pin here. Alright, then right here is a little slot. So you move your bolt back, and then your operating rod will pull off of there. You just got to get it just right where it rotates off of your bolt for your operating rod. There we go. So right here, that little notch, it's got to line up in that little notch there, and that should pull right off. And then your bolt is free. You just got to kind of rotate. There we go. And then your bolt comes apart. Alright, so there, top handguard. So you got to remove, this is probably the hardest piece to get back on sometimes. So there is a little roll pin, or sometimes it's a solid pin right here on that front ferrule. So you just remove that pin with a punch, and this will slide right off. Just be careful, because that's how these crack. Alright, then we'll move over to the fire control group. So what you want to do here is release the hammer so it doesn't have that tension on there. And then right here is a little pin. Right here, you're going to push it out from this side. So you want to press down on here to take some of the tension off, and then push that pin out. There we go, that little pin there. And be careful, you got to have a lot of tension on there for your hammer spring and housing. And then your trigger will come out. Next is another pin right here that holds your hammer and your trigger guard in, and that just pushes out to one side. And then your hammer will come off, and then your trigger guard. So actually you got to remove your safety. So there's a little spring here, and then that little hole that your backside of your safety sits into, that holds your safety in place. And then you can rotate this off to the side for your trigger guard, and you can remove this spring if needed. I usually do not. So that's a full disassembly as far as I ever take it apart to do any kind of cleaning, maintenance, change out parts. So this is a 6-digit Springfield. I think it's from 1942 is the year that this was made. You can take these apart, your rear sight. I unscrew this right here, and then you can unscrew this, and then the pinion will come out. Then your cover and stuff, you can pop that. Once you get that off, then you can pop that off to get at your rear aperture if you need to replace it or if it's broken for some reason. But that is a full disassembly. And then we can actually go back into a full assembly if we want to. Just quick show you butt pad. It's just 2 screws there, and the bottom screw actually holds in your rear sling swivel kind of hook. If you want to replace that or take that off, your this ferrule thing, you just gotta unscrew that to release the tension and remove that off the stock if ever needed. Alright, let's get into assembly. So just pretty much going back the opposite of which way we came. So trigger guard. So this one is actually a little bit tight. So just get that into place. Then next will be your safety. So that just drops into that slot right there. And then just gotta line up that hole. There we go, that clicks into place. Make sure the safety is off, so your hammer. And then this slides in right behind there. And then you can put this pin in. And then sometimes I get mixed up on which way, because one side's a little bit bigger, it won't fully seat in there. This one side's a little bit bigger, and that has that slot in there. And then next is going to be your hammer spring and housing. And then your trigger. This is going to be the hardest part to do. So these two, so hopefully you can see this. Alright, so right here, those two little, let's get that in focus here. Okay, so those two little parts, that'd probably be your, I'm not exactly sure what that is called. That'll line up on the inside of this housing right here. Alright, that holds that in place, and then you put your trigger in there. And then you gotta depress on there, which is not the easiest. Make sure your hammer is all the way forward. Have your pin ready. I'm assuming there may be a better, easier way, but I have not found one. Alright, so make sure that lines up good. Alright, and go. So once you get that, oh, that was not lined up. Let's try again. Like I said, this is the hardest part of it. There we go. Just gotta make sure that's in the right hand. Alright, then you get your pin started. Alright. And here where you might need a little bit of a hammer to work that pin in there, because that is really tough to do. by hand, which it can be done. So I just haven't found the best way. So usually I just use, let me get a hammer. Alright. Just because there's so much tension on that spring. There we go. Just kind of gotta tap it up because it just doesn't quite line up by hand. Alright, so your fire control group is all ready. Then you can cock the hammer, put the safety on, set that off to the side until we get to that part. Next, rest your bolt, put your bolt back in here. Alright, so it slides in that slot there. Take that off to the side, and you can connect your operating rod and get that into that slot again. Oh, like I said, once you get the hang of it, it's actually pretty easy. There we go. Oh, I gotta get my operating rod in that right spot there. There we go. Alright. So operating rod is in. Next, your bullet follower. Make sure that's facing the right way. That part that slides back and forth is down towards the top of the gun. I want to put that in. Then next, kind of any way these can go in there. I mean, there's not really. So your bullet guide, and then that. So right here, another little tip here. Make sure this is underneath your bolt catch. It's something to point it out. So your bolt catch is right here. So make sure that is underneath there when you put that in. Okay, then that slides back in there. Okay, that'll slide in there like so. Alright, that's underneath there. And then your arm. So that just slides right in here. So that helps your bullet guide. And then that drops in right in here. And then you can put your pin in. Alright, make sure that sits flush. And then next is your spring. Alright, so this angle part goes down, and it connects onto that follow.